Welcome to the One More Boom podcast, where we are a different breed. This is more than just a space for oilfield and pipeline professionals. It's a community built for those who refuse to settle for the ordinary. You're here because you're ambitious, resilient, and driven to excel. At One More Boom, we're both more than just work. We're both thriving under pressure, breaking new ground, and pushing limits. This is your place to connect, learn, and grow with others who live for the challenge. You're not average, you're a different breed. Welcome to the One More Boom community.
Good day, Shawn. Here we are again.
Yeah, Nikki, we're back, baby.
We're back in a brand new show, and it's very exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, you just flew in today from Vernon, so that's very cool.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to be here in Calgary, man, where it's, this is the oil town, baby.
Yeah, it is. And so you and I, we've been down this road with another podcast before. Now we're starting to bring it all together with this new version of One More Boom.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic, man. We'll be able to dive into the old topics a little bit more. We'll be able to really get into all that stuff and so much more, man, with the community and all that stuff that we're going to have going on here.
Yeah, and it's really expanding upon what we were working towards with the other one. And like anything, we learn a lot along the way.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so it's really good. So here we are, and I think, if you want to jump in and let's maybe tell people why you're here. Like, why do you want to start this, go down this venture of One More Boom with myself, and what is the reason for this?
Well, for me, Nick, I don't know, you know who Simon Sinek is. He says, find your why. My why is definitely to help. I like helping people. I like seeing them succeed. I like helping people and giving them resources to get where they want to get. So, whether it's starting a business or fitness or family or financials, for me, it's really empowering, and it fills my cup. It fills my cup to help other people and see them succeed. What I wanted to do with you, man, I mean, like, we are the same in a lot of senses. So I think that you want to help people, and you've already done a lot of it. I'm just kind of diving into it with our podcast, and I got friends and family that I'm trying to help, and people that I meet and kind of give them ideas and kind of get them down those roads a little bit. But this is going to give us a real big opportunity to get a wide variety and a bigger, hopefully, community of people that we can help.
Yeah, that's great. So a little backstory. Yeah, so Shawn Miller we should have started with that, actually, but now that we're into it, let's go with it. So your name is Shawn Miller, and I'm Nick Gemmell, and we're here to launch this One Boom podcast. And I love where you're coming from as a person, and we'll dive more into why you're so enthusiastic to get going on this, and why I'm here is for a lot of the same reasons. So going through the oil field experience, I've been in pipeline for probably going on 20 years now in the field, and in the facility side as well. So background from welding is where I came from, and then losing my wife and my kids in that process, going through a divorce and wanting to help other people because that never had to happen. And now, we will dive into that a lot more, but that's why personally, because I know it didn't have to happen. It might have happened anyways. You never know what happens, and we don't like to look in the rearview mirror, but I like to bring that to the forefront because so many guys go through that. Like, you've seen it forever in yours. Between making all the money, spending it all, losing relationships along the way, and man, it just really doesn't have to happen, does it?
No, it doesn't, man. And I fortunately didn't have to go through that. I've got a strong, wicked, phenomenal woman at home. Not that you didn't.
Yeah.
And I've asked her time and again, man, like, why'd you stick around?
Why?
Yeah. So it'll be cool to dive into that a little bit later. So it's super cool, I think, that you come from the facility side. I'm from like completions and fracking and all that sort of side. So I've been doing that for 20 years. So I started off working in Canada, switched jobs here and there, went and did safety for Synovus for quite a few years up at Pelican Lake, and And then project ended in Northern Saskatchewan, and I got a call and they asked me if I wanted to go to Saudi. So I spent the last 10 years mostly working in the Middle East, and so I'm excited that we get to hear from the pipeline side,
Yeah.
and then we can also bring in my experience from the other side. So it's gonna be pretty cool, man. And I think a lot of people are gonna be able to relate to what we're talking about.
No, and the intent is to really, our stories and go through and what we're doing with the community and bringing that together and melding the, and you alluded to it. You're like, I thought Oilfield was the same. Why do we got to segregate, or not segregate, but bring together the oilfield and the pipeliners?
Yeah.
But it is really two different sectors within that one group. It is all oilfield, but there's so many people that just do either they're on drilling or they're on the pipeline side. There's not too often they go together or transfer over from one to the other, I should say.
Yeah, I don't know anyone who's actually went from drilling completions to pipeline and vice versa. All the pipeliners I know are still pipeliners.
Yeah. So, but that lifestyle is all the same. The trials and tribulations are all the same. Moving up from the ranks is. The names are different at the titles a little bit, but really, yeah, you start from the bottom, you work up to a supervisor, and you work up from there. If you want to get into the office and get into more of a management role, it's really the same, but everyone works away. Everyone makes a lot of money at some point in their career, and a lot of people lose it.
Yeah,
Unfortunately. So that's diving into that. And then it's really cool where we came, or how we got to meet, was because it was in Invermere in BC. Right. So just a small little town in a hot tub. It was a very small hot tub. and we just started talking. I had my kids there. It was shortly after after the separation, and I was staying in a place there while I was home on days off, and you were on just
a golf trip.
On a golf trip, and we just started talking, and I brought up my podcast through that conversation, and then you just started asking more questions about it.
That's one thing I like, man. I love learning, and podcast is something I've always been interested in. Yeah. Specifically for the same reasons that you're here today, is kind of get that information out. And I went through a lot of crappy stuff. Say 10, 15 years ago, I couldn't put a full sentence together. I couldn't do that sort of thing. And what had happened is my cognitive function just took a huge dive. Yeah. Long hours, drinking, all the things that most of us do in the pipeline or in the oil field.
Yeah.
So I really had to take that my own health in my own hands, and just started reading and devouring knowledge on all that kind of stuff, so I could get to a point where, I'm by no means perfect, but at a point where I'm doing all right.
No, it's great. And I love the way that you did that progression, but I think a lot of, where it came from is sales. Now you do a lot of sales calls, a lot of other things. So when you get to talk to people on a daily basis, if you're not in that place where you can form a few words and put them together, no one's going to buy from you. Right. And you going through and owning a few businesses and starting all that. Yeah. You have people that are reporting to you, you're reporting to other people. And if you don't have that, that train of thought where you can put some words together, you're not really going to thrive in those environments.
They definitely not going to succeed.
Yeah. And it goes back to the field where if you do have that, you have a better chance of being able to grow up the ranks as well.
Absolutely. I'm sure pipeline is exactly the same as the side that I come from. Man, there's computers, there's, you got to make presentations, you got to pile information together and give it to the bosses in Calgary in a way that they can understand it, in the way that they want it, not the way that us in the field have it. So there's a big progression starting from, saying the F word in your report or whatever, and making those reports so they're readable, so they go all the way up the chain right to the top and actually make a difference.
Do you think there's where there's a point where people are stuck because that's the way they always do things and no one calls them out. And that's why they stay stuck in certain roles, is because they aren't growing in those areas.
100%, man, for sure. I mean, like, I think you have to be willing to learn. You have to have the cognitive function to learn. You have to, I mean, there's so many things that come with this. I mean, we can talk about sleep and vitamins and all these other sort of things. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people are stuck. And I think that we'll be able to at least give them the knowledge or the ammunition to try and get to those places that they want to be.
Yeah. And that's a lot of the things that we want to talk about. You're huge on nutrition, and yeah, you give me shit all the time for sleep, and I am getting better at that, but I also have a trainer that helps me stay accountable to that sort of thing as well. But it's so dialed in when you want to get to the next level. And I'm really finding that where I did plateau, like through this personal growth journey over the past 5-6 years, almost 7 actually. Wow, time flies. Where you hit that plateau because you've got to the next level, and now you have to go out and you don't have to, but if you want to grow, find another mentor that has those skills that need you to get to that next level so you can keep growing.
Yeah, and I think it's cool that you mentioned mentors, man, because I think it's so important to have mentors, and they don't have to be paid mentors. Best friends. I mean, anyone where you want to be. I think it's so important to have mentors. Financially, business, whatever it may be. I think it's cool to be able to seek those people out, just pick their brains or just hang out with them, and that's going to teach you so much just there.
Yeah, yeah. When I came out of, I've paid for all my mentors now because I never had that. I was kind of a lone wolf, we'd say, through my career, and that's where a lot of my detriment was from, is because I didn't seek out or think that it was needed or even a thing, actually. So I just protected myself in this little silo, and I did pretty well in my career, from moving up from welding to starting my own rig, and then moving into inspection, then construction management at a very young age. And it's very difficult to do on your own. And I did it, but then there's a lot of internal battles that happen through that. And if you're not dealing with those emotions and those, it goes bad, trust me. And that's what landed me up in rehab, more for depression than anything else, was the fact that I wasn't dealing with that. And then all of a sudden my wife says, "Hey, I don't want to do counseling. I don't want to do anything. I'm just done." And then taking a shot to the head, like it was massive.
Well, I think that's why this is a massive opportunity, man, to build this community and really have a sense of community where, you can find mentors, you can find a community, you can find people just like you, not just the guys you work with. Because I mean, that's generally what happens in the oil field, is your buddies become the people you work with because, let's be honest, man, we see them more than we see our family. So they become our best friends, they become our mentors, they become everything. But with this community that we're hoping to build, Nick, I think we'll be able to create a community around everybody. And I continuously say community because I think it's so important. Back in the day, we didn't, there was no lone wolves.
No.
You had a tribe, right? And that's the way it's got to be.
Oh, it's true. And that's why those tribes grew to empires, because they had someone that went to lead, and those other people, they wanted more. So they started putting out more into those tribal communities, more food, more abundance of everything. So that's what we're trying to do through here. And it's very powerful when you can bring a lot of people that want to grow, because if you're 5 people, it comes back to that. You're 5 people that are around you. That's what you become to be like. And if they're not growing, and if they're not expanding, and if they're not wanting to do better, you get stuck. But you don't know you're stuck until 10, 15 years into that, and you fall asleep. And you just get up, because it's so easy when you work 12, 15 hours a day, if not more in some cases, and you just put your lunch bag in your truck, and you drive to work, and you go and you work those hours, and you come back and you eat and you go to bed. That cycle can go on forever if you'll let it. And that's when you start sedating. You start either drinking, sex, you name it. That's going to be your thing that you use to hold those emotions, and that just so that you can everyone's at home. They're taken care of financially for the most part. And nowadays, even that's a whole other topic with the economy and politics and the whole thing. But that's what they do. They're good, and they're living their lives while you're doing your thing the best for them. But it's mundane in a lot of ways, and that's what we're trying to do through that community, is find that tribe of people who want to grow. Is how many people on your feed, because you're a lot of in the fitness space and personal growth, and that how many people are starting side businesses, whether they're MLMs or buying up existing businesses or starting something new, even fitness, like fitness trainers. I see so many oil field guys, a lot of pipeliners, because they are in good shape. That's all they do after work, is they just go grind hard, and they've done quite well for themselves, and now they want to bring that out to the world, but they also want to monetize so that they don't have to work as much if they don't want to. How many people in your group are doing those types of things?
Surprisingly, not very many, Nick. To be honest with you, I think that I think there's a lot of want. What I see mostly is like, how do I?
Yeah.
And I get a lot of those questions. Whether it's fitness related or nutrition related or even business related. I get a lot of, hey, how do I start this? What's this look like? What am I looking at? What's the future look like? What does it hold?
Yeah.
What do I have to look forward to? A lot of those questions. So that's kind of why I want to get into this community, and I want to get these guys into this community, because we're going to be able to give them so many resources, places that other people do want to do the same thing. So it's not just about me or you or lots of these courses that we're going to be able to offer these guys and girls. It's about community and tribes.
Yeah.
And we're going to be one tribe. We'll one more boom tribe, baby. It's gonna, you know what I mean?
It is. How many people, and I love that phrase of one more boom, because it is. All of us have said it at one point in our career. We get tired with just one more, and then we go and something happens. It doesn't matter what it is. You might make a decision. I had a business in Lethbridge where, yeah, I loved it. It was a passion project with a friend, with a motorcycle shop and all the things. But we made a lot of mistakes. And I'm sure you've made a lot of mistakes along the way too. And it's learning from those. And if we can teach people how to do it. And I literally had a friend of mine, they want to start a business, and he's got multiple partners overseas and everywhere, and they want to start an Alberta business here, and they didn't know how to do it. I literally, and I know the website exactly, it's called Owner, and you can literally do everything on there, and within 20 minutes you have a business that's popped up. Everyone signed the shareholder agreements and all the things because it just gets emailed to them. But if they didn't know that, they thought it was an audacious, like, how are we going to get everyone together? We have to fly people all over to get these physical signatures. It's not like that anymore. But if you don't know, you only know what you know.
That's right.
And that's like little hacks like that, they can go a long way, because today it's about speed of implementation. You got an idea and you think it's a good one, and you've got some social proof that it's ready to go or good to go, pull the trigger. And a lot of guys, they get stuck because they don't know what that next step is. So if we can help in part through this community, help show what we're doing in some ways, and be able to help other people do that, man, how much fun is that going to be?
Well, I think it's cool too, Ray. Like if you have an idea and you're in the community, and Jimmy over there has an idea and Sally has an idea, but they're all the kind of, roughly the same idea, then you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah.
You and Jimmy and Sally could start a business together. And because of the Oilfield is such a small place, she has 100 contacts, you have 100, Jimmy has 100. I mean, right there, you've got 300 contacts, and that business goes, right? I got a really good buddy of mine, and he says, fast fish. It's all about the fast fish. So I really like what you said there. It's about fast implementation, because at the end of the day, you want to be the first one on the board, right?
Mm-hmm.
So fast fish.
Fast fish. No, that's deadly. And even if it doesn't work, you're going to get so much feedback from what happened, like learnings, that you can do it again and maybe not make those. You might make other mistakes, but you're not going to make those. And then you do that enough times, eventually something's going to stick. Your first business idea, if we're purely just talking about that right now, it's most likely not going to work. It's just the way it is. So take those learnings. But if you're stuck in that place, I was going to use my usual term. It's very not good, but yeah, we're going to put this out on LinkedIn. So but if you're stuck in that place where you're not pulling the trigger and you're just mentally thinking about it, you're not doing it, well, you're not learning. You're getting those learnings that happens along the way. And that's why I do some executive coaching for contractors and guys that want to start up. And through that, yeah, I can take my learnings and we can do it. And these guys are so grateful that I never thought of that. I never did that. So if we can create a community where you're creating those types of conversations where guys are starting to pull the trigger and potentially partnering with people, it's even better. But it's not only just the business, it's fitness. Like I made so many mistakes in fitness when I got back into training, 2014, I decided that I couldn't tie my boots anymore without huffing and puffing. And it wasn't good. So I decided to get a trainer. But before I did that, because I was training, before I decided to make that move, I was going back to what I knew 15 years before that, which was I want to be strong. So I'm going to eat as much food as I can. And I put on 30 pounds in like 4, 5, 6 months. It was very short. And that was the old school way of training. So we don't train like that anymore. You can be lean and strong at the same time these days without drugs. You add drugs in the mix if that's your jam. Yeah, you can accelerate that, but now you have to work that much harder to be able to make it happin.
Well, like, just off the top of your head, how much you weigh?
Oh, right now 184 pounds.
What's your deadlift?
Yeah, it'll be around 500 right now.
There we go.
Yeah. Yes, and that's drug-free right now. Yeah, I sampled. Yeah, and I'm fully disclosed on that. Yeah, I did that for about 2 years when I was going through the fitness stuff, and now I'm doing it the other way where I got a number in mind before I'm 50. So I'm 45 years old for anyone that doesn't know. But yeah,
and you'll get there.
Yeah. So 45 years old, 184 pounds. Yeah, I'm pulling around 500. So, but the point there was I didn't know what I didn't know, but I knew what we used to do back in the day, which is just eat a lot of food, and it didn't work. And it goes from your relationships. There's reasons why there's relationship coaches or therapists or things like that. I'm not big on the therapist for a lot of reasons because we can dive into that at some point. But as far as like you only know what you know.
That's right.
Yeah.
Part of the community is gonna be super cool. Is I think I've got a lot to offer. You've got a lot to offer, and so does anyone that joins the community. I mean, that experience that you talk about with the business and stuff. That's just, you could bring that over to financials and your family life and all these things. I learn a lot from you almost every time we speak. So it's super cool for me to be able to learn from you. I hope that I give you some value back when we do talk. So being able to do that for each other inside this community is just going to be massive, man.
Yeah. The dynamics between Shawn and I is different where I just did life one way up until my wife left. And even then it took me about a year before it snapped in that what I'm doing is not working. So to be able to go in and dive in with Shawn where he made the changes, but he accelerated his life so much faster because he had a community around him. So I had coaches and everything to do it, but I had so much I didn't know from before that I had to jam in my brain over the past 5 years and be able to, and it wasn't honed. Let's put it that way. I've tried a lot of things in the last few years and it did set me back even further. But now it's because the reps were put in, it's accelerating at such a high frequency and a high rate that everything's coming together. So it's that delayed gratification that I've had to learn if I wanted keep going down this path rather than just going out to work, which there's nothing wrong with it, is going out and you're there for your 8, 10, 12 hours, 15 hours a day. That's your thing. But if you want more, there is another side to life that's out there. And when you start being around other people who are living that way, you learn that life isn't what we thought it was.
No, man, there's a lot of talk, about, the school system and what they do and what are they supposed to do? They're some people say they're there to produce workers.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see that there is another side of it. And I think that you've obviously noticed that. I've noticed that. And a lot of the people that are around in my community have noticed that as well.
Yeah. Oh, this is really good. So I think, there's so many topics that we can dive down to, and we can go on forever talking, you and I love it. But I think we'll kind of wrap it up here for today, and we can expand on who you are, who I am, and maybe give a little more context in the next few episodes where we can, help why we're here, why we think that we're able to talk on these things, and why we think we can be in this position. Because it's scary sitting up here and talking like this and putting all this out into the ether. A, is anyone going to listen? And B, why is it relevant to their lives? And then C, why should they buy into this community that we're putting out with the podcast?
Yeah, and I think it's D. Like, I hope that we're adding value.
Yeah.
Every time that we talk, every time that we put one of these out, I hope we're adding value to the lives of the guys and girls that are listening. I think that's the main goal, man.
It is. And I think when we bring in other guests into it and they get to tell their stories of either resilience or building, however that looks like for them, and then people can see the other side, that they're all the same. We're all the same when we're in this mix, but some people have taken that to the next level where they're starting to implement, because the amount of resilience that happens when you're working out in the field and the amount of decisions that you have to make on the fly, there's some of the smartest people I've ever met that could make out of a pile of shit, and they can make a project happen. Like, if things are going sideways and somebody has to make a decision on the fly, like that happens all the time out there. And you can now take those skills and you can apply them elsewhere. So how cool is that? It just doesn't have to be in the field. So that right now in Canada anyways, pipeline is slow. It's very slow. The drilling is starting to get active again, which is good. Pipeline always follows the drilling, but it's going to take time. So in those next year or two, whatever that looks like, take all of that knowledge that you have and those skills that you have and see if we can put that elsewhere.
I like the next on that. I guess we'll call it a wrap.
Sounds good, and we'll see you guys all in the next episode.
Can't wait. That's it for today's episode of One More Boom Podcast. Remember, you're part of a community that doesn't settle for the status quo. Here, we push boundaries, support each other, and thrive under pressure. Whether you're out in the field or leveling up your career, we've got your back. Stay connected, stay driven, and keep embodying the grit of a different breed. Until next time, keep pushing forward. Together, we'll achieve more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode of One More Boom.